majority of physicians, I mean, I don't have to say no to a lot of them, but they don't know how blood is formed. They're still yet to learn how blood is formed. They don't really know what a bacteria is. They don't know what a virus is. They haven't, the vast majority of physicians haven't heard that a virus and a mold and a bacteria and a fungus and a spore and a yeast and microcilia, all of these are coming from the same family, and are just either a more primitive or more advanced, evolved form of a microorganism which fashions itself into the shape of all of those things that actually they are related to each other. This is called pleomorphism. They think of bacteria as a bacteria as a bacteria, but it's not true. That bacteria can completely transmutate itself into a mold. A mold can transmutate itself into a fungus. A fungus can transmutate itself into a yeast. And the yeast can transmutate itself into a bacteria. They all come from the same family. The vast majority of physicians yet to even hear about this or even learn about pleomorphism. That is the fact of the matter. Cancer basically is because the cells that are made up out of a primitive life force have switched over to a fermenting system and are getting their nutrition and their energy from fermentation rather than oxidation. And the moment you bring in the oxidative enzymes back into the body, cancer is dissolved. The vast majority of physicians treat cancer like it's a local kind of a condition. That also is just totally erroneous. Cancer manifests itself. Just imagine that you have a mold on a piece of cream cheese or something, and you just cut the mold off the cream cheese. You feel like if you cut the mold off the cream cheese now, you can deal with the cream cheese. That mold, the spores of that mold is right throughout the cream cheese, and even though we might not be able to see it, we could if we had the proper equipment. We can't quite see it on the surface. And some people are led to believe, oh well, that's just a local kind of a condition. If the orange has mold on it, that mold actually is something that's gone pretty much right through the orange. It's a condition of immunity as far as the orange is concerned. The only way that that orange could be healed is if there was a way to restore the vitality of the orange. The moment you can do that, then it keeps everything else again at bay. And so the proper treatment for someone healing themselves from cancer involves you getting on the right nutritional program to be able to help this. Any physician who would say to you, like a lot of them out there, that nutrition isn't important and nobody has healed themselves from nutrition, that's bulldoze. They just don't know that. They haven't studied it. And that's very misleading that they've led people into those 4 other approaches to healing cancer rather than nutrition. And they're only bound to have limited success if they do that without incorporating nutrition. So cancer basically is a mold, considered to be a fungus or a mold, basically. And you can imagine that a Somatier, at the turn of the century, around Pasteur's time, he had a rival, Antoine Bouchard. Pasteur's plagiarized most of Antoine Bouchard's work and research and totally, completely misled people of the Academy of Science, Academy of Medicine, and has misled all of us. But as I said to you at the start of this, I listened to what people said on their deathbed. I listen to what people say in the last few hours, because often our greatest insight into things come in a time like that, because then the person just tells you the truth of what they feel in their heart, unencumbered by tradition and unencumbered by all the things that have happened to them, ego, status, and all those sorts of things fall by the wayside. Pasteur said this on his deathbed. He said the microbe is nothing, the terrain is everything. That was the raging debate that Antoine Bouchard had with him at the turn of the century. Antoine Bouchard had said to Pasteur that he didn't do his experiments long enough, which he didn't. He pasteurized some stuff for 3 days and then looked seemingly didn't find anything like it there, so we just said, well, these things arrive as a result of spores of microbes already existing there. That's what he said. He led us to believe that the microbe and all kinds of conditions in the body is something that you catch from the outside in, which is not true. Every single microbe, for the most part, that people come down with ailment-wise, herpes, tuberculosis, spirochetes, syphilis, and many other kinds of conditions, Epstein-Barr virus, all of these can be thoroughly created in your body without any inoculation from the outside. Roy Wright, at the turn of this century, started to come into all of this information and developed a microscope that electronically had the ability to be able to see these living organisms, which he eventually called the BX virus. Antoine Bouchard also saw these at the turn of the century, from 1870 onward. He had a very, very powerful microscope and saw these living things and described them in the blood, which in Western medicine calls these artifacts. They don't know what they are. But if they're staining, because most people do a lot of staining, a lot of dead tissue samples and things, they call them artifacts. But in fact, that is a very essential element in the blood. It's the third element in the blood. They think there's only two major things in your blood, white blood cells and red blood cells, but there's a third element in your blood. These I'm going to call somatids. Antoine Bouchard called them microzymas. Wilhelm Reich also had a very, very powerful microscope at the turn of the century in Europe. He looked at these and saw these. He only saw them at certain times of the year, as Antoine Bouchard also did. Only saw them from June, July, and August. For about 3 months, mainly saw them. The reason why they only saw them at that time under the microscope is because there was a lot more ultraviolet light that was coming through, and that was illuminating more, because the ultraviolet light is the shortest wavelength. It's resonating at the fastest wavelength frequency as far as your visible light is concerned. Ultraviolet light would highlight these things during the month when there was more ultraviolet light coming through. They didn't have any special kind of microscope like we do today, but they did have some powerful microscopes enough to be able to see these, what Antoine Bouchard called microzymas, what Wilhelm Reich called bions, what Reich called the BX virus, what Gaston Naissance, who I studied with in Canada, calls somatids, so I call them somatids, and what Gunther Endlin in Germany calls protids. All of these people have advanced our understanding of how to go about treating cancer, what cancer is, and yet the rest of the medical world are even to learn about those people's names, let alone what these somatids actually are. But let's just say that we took a healthy plant clipping, and that's healthy plant, and we examined it. It's very, very healthy. We don't see any worms there. Can't see any viruses. Doesn't seem to be any mold there or anything. Seal it in a glass jar, and you come back in 3-4 weeks' time. You'll be shocked to find mold in there, fungus in there, bacteria in there, worms in there, viruses in there. Where did they come from? Somatids that make up this plant leaf right now that we're looking at, when that starts to lack oxygen and starts to oxidize, the chemistry of the leaf would have changed, and the somatids which make up the leaf will transmutate themselves into a bacteria. But it will transmutate itself first of all into something like a yeast, which will deal with the sugar of the plant. And then when there's not much of that left, it will transmutate itself into bacteria, which will start to eat the protein. And then that because basically that yeast, that bacteria, that virus is all made of somatids. And every living thing and all organic materials around us is all really actually somatids that this life force has fashioned into the shape of itself, like we have fashioned somatids into the shape of ourselves. When you eat food, the somatids are not destroyed by heat. And so chicken, if you eat chicken, your blood is the same as a person's blood who has cancer for up to 8 hours or so. If you eat pork, your blood is exactly the same as a person's blood who has cancer. Your body is full of the BS virus. Whilst you've got a good immune function, it keeps all of that at bay, but then finally cancer can happen as a result of low immunity. The person loses the ability to be able to have an inflammation. And so that's the first thing that we go about doing, is helping the person heal themselves. Because I don't believe in the word cure, and I know that the allopaths banded that word around, but that's absolute bulldust, and that's wrong thinking. But they could possibly, if they knew how to help this person heal themselves, it's possible to help nature heal. That's actually what we do. So the somatid which the cell is made of, they think that actually blood is formed in your bones, and that's not true. That's the biggest load of bulldust. They do all kinds of operations on people under the assumption that blood is made in the bones. So they do all kinds of bone marrow stuff and everything, which is total erroneous stuff. They have no idea. They have never seen blood form. They're just guessing. They think that blood is formed in the bones, and then for some reason or other it gets rid of its nucleus. But they can't tell you how it gets rid of its nucleus. They've got some kind of a theory on that, but they've never seen that. It's total bulldogs. They think also that the vast majority of the way we get our cells in our bodies through mitotic cell division. And that's not true either. There's a revolution in biology occurring. Incredible. And there's a movement away from chemicals towards biological treatment. Biologically treating the body, not chemically treating the body. But treating the body with life and learning about life, which they haven't done. They have to study a lot of dead things, a lot of chemicals. That's as much as their understanding. So they haven't looked so far as far as it's applicated. Well, those things, the application of those things to how they affect the body. So basically poison the body. Somatid is floating in the sea. It joins with other somatids, and it's called aggregate. They aggregate together. So somatids aggregate together. Now you have an aggregate of somatids floating together in the sea. Those aggregates fuse together with other aggregates and forms a cell, wall. Now you have a cell floating in the sea. That cell joins with other cells, and now there's a lot of cells there. And those cells differentiate, and they specialise at that point, and they can become sponge, they can become all manner of things. And you see a mold or a fungus that's within us, and a bacteria is formed the same way. Our blood cells are formed exactly the same way. They just told you. They think that our blood cells are formed through mitotic cell division. That's not true. Every cell, for the most part, that we have in our body, the vast majority of those cells in our body arrive as a result of it being an erythrocyte, a red blood cell originally. You make red blood cells not from the long bones of your body, which is the popular theory, but from the intestinal villi of your intestines, from the menorah of the foods that you eat, that is full of somatids. Those somatids pull together, they aggregate together, right? Just like you're walking along the edge of the ocean, like your intestine. You walk along the edge of the ocean, you see bubbles. You see bubbles forming. Every single thing that we have within our body, our hair, our cells, the mitochondria, the lysomes, the cell membrane itself, all of these things you can find individually in nature. And those things came together to live in a symbiotic relationship with each other when life first came to be on Earth. So like an algae that has the ability to convert sunlight into energy started to live inside a bubble. And then little lysomes, which you also can find individually in nature, started also to live inside that bubble because they could live in a similar. they just came together and lived and now are living in a symbiotic relationship with each other that makes up the cell. And so now, embryogenesis, which is the study of how life formed on the earth, and the ontology of our evolution, points toward all of these things that are individually in nature have to come together in a cell to form the cell, and those cells came together, differentiated, and to make up ourselves. So all of our cells arrive originally from being a blood cell originally. If a person has cancer, the reason why they have cancer is because one of the conditions is they have low oxygen in the body. The body produces more red blood cells to be able to carry oxygen. Those red blood cells, they pool in those areas where they're slow. If you have a blood transfusion for some condition, it's quite possible that you end up with cancer as well as having that blood transfusion. Blood transfusions, people heal themselves despite having a blood transfusion. Blood transfusions are very wrong. They don't understand that blood is treated as a toxic agent in the body, and the body can go into prophylactic shock from having been given that transfusion. The liver swells up incredibly, the spleen swells up incredibly, it has to break that down. That's a foreign product. And not only that, but there are all manner of things that come in their blood that are less than excellent for us.
When you have your own blood?
Well, if you have your own blood, you're going to get it back. No, you're going to get it given back to you with all kinds of immunosuppressive elements in it, and plastic, and they put immunosuppressive elements in it to stop your immune system from rejecting that blood. The best way to hydrate the body, there's all kinds of ways to hydrate the body, and that's blood transfusion. And blood transfusion that a person gets in that diabolical state can often be the cause of that person getting pneumonia and all kinds of things eventually dying. And many people are healed despite actually having been given a blood transfusion. But anyway, after a person has a blood transfusion, it's possible that they can end up with cancer somewhere in the body. Wherever the body's energy, the red blood cells are slow, blood cells coagulate and stop there, and they lose their shape and form and everything. They extrude their cytoplasm, and they basically pool, and now a body cell can grow out of that material. The lymphocyte cell can grow out of that material. A leukocyte cell can grow out of that material. A phagocytic kind of a cell can grow out of that material. A bacteria can also grow out of that material. A virus can grow out of that material. A mold, a yeast, a fungus, microcilium, all of those things can grow out of that material. Because that material is just basically a pool of somatids. And the somatids make up everything around us. And so the vast majority of our cells arrive as a result of having been an erythrocyte, a red blood cell originally. Now, basically, a fungus is a more advanced form of a somatid, right? A mold is basically a more advanced form of the somatid, that's all. And the mold is individually made of single somatids. If I drew a line on a piece of paper to make up the membrane of a cell, and then you took a magnifying glass to that paper and you really magnified it, you'd find that line that I drew actually is not a straight line really at all, but tiny little dots of ink that were left on the paper that make it look like actually it's a line. Well, if you went all the way into the cell membrane of the bacteria, you will find it's made up out of somatids. So when you take there's three kinds of drinks that we have people drink. But there's other things that you do on this program, but there's three kinds of things that you drink for each time. And these are three drinks that you would like to do maybe for your longevity. For the rest of your life, to have some of these drinks in your life would be very important. Certainly if you have cancer, these three beverages are very important to you to how to heal your condition. Basically, those beverages are made up out of more primitive somatids than the advanced forms, life forms that you have in your body. So when you drink these beverages, the primitive somatid sexually mates individually with the more advanced form of the somatids that fashion themselves into, and it completely dissolves that growth or those cells, that mold, that fungus or that bacteria completely into their original, more primitive somatids, which actually is very helpful in the immune system. It keeps everything at bay, keeps a good electrical current flowing, and it helps scavenge and clear and clean debris. It helps actually immune function. So one of the drinks that we have people make is called kombucha. Who's heard of kombucha?
You don't count.
Kombucha is a mushroom, basically, coming from China, and it's really a liver. If you go out into nature and find something just totally bit like a liver, that's it. Right? And it's made up out of primitive somatids, right, which form from the sugar and the various things, and the microorganism that you first get to culture this. And that's a fermented drink. That mushroom grows a new mushroom underneath it, and then you drink the beverage. Right, then you drink the beverage, and you can only have maybe 8 ounces of that a day, 4 ounces in the morning, 4 ounces in the evening. But my God, I swear to you, that can act like a liver in your own body. Those microorganisms are very amazing. Okay. Another beverage, 2 other beverages that we have people do is a beverage called the Jubb, which is made out of sprouted wheat berries, and Celinda and Henry have been making rejuvenate and drinking that. That helps reacidify your colon with the proper lactic acid. Let me have a small sip of that. Because most people, when you're eating a lot of acid foods, little by little the colon becomes more and more alkaline.
That's great. I'm going to drink some of that.
Excellent. That's a good batch. That's a really good batch.
It's fresh.
It's really, really excellent.
I'll show you the stuff that's being grown. I got it in the second night's worth of
Okay, so you sprout the soft white wheat berries. Okay. Then once you sprout them for 2 days, they get a little tail to them. Then you put them in your queen, you lightly cut them. And then you put that in a glass jar, cover that by 2/3 with some charged water, which you should learn how to make, because that acts like a gas in your body. And then you put that in a warm place somewhere. It has to be at 80 to 90 degrees constant temperature. 24 hours later, soft white wheat berries. They make pastries out of that, in the real world.
This is the second night's batch.
Okay, so now one thing that I can feel is that could be like 10 degrees warmer.
I know.
Yeah, it'll make a better batch. Yes, it has to be kind of a constant temperature. But anyway,
You've got all my extremities so warm now. I can't stand that hot in here anymore.
Oh, good.
I have the air conditioning on all the time because the place is so good.
Yes, excellent, good. Well, that will happen to you too. You should be able to be outside in the cold. I hardly wear it ever, even in the winter in New York. I never wear a jacket, and I don't possess a jumper, what do you call it, a sweater. I don't even possess a sweater or anything, and I hardly ever wear anything. And that's actually good health. You should not be so bundled up totally, but be more clad in a raiment of sunshine and air. That helps the body incredibly. We produce various things under those conditions that we don't produce, like the other kind of fat cells, which you don't produce when you're kind of all bundled up. So there's primitive somatids in here from an organism called Aspergillus, and those somatids, right, they'll go to work and they can kill all kinds of things in your body, like tuberculosis, tuberculosis, and very many other kinds of conditions. And not only that, but as I said, all 3 beverages, the other beverage is a beverage that's made with cabbage and lemon. Basically, you shred the cabbage and bruise it, and you peel the lemon and you bruise that and you mix that together and you cover that in 2/3 with some charged water, and you put that in a warm place also and cover it. Then after 24 hours you have a beverage that's very amazing for healing tuberculosis, TB, and a lot of other kinds of conditions and things. So these three beverages, for the most part, will take care of just about a lot of conditions that get into your body currently. What's called a dysbiosis, because our tissues are made up out of somatids. When the tissue has the right chemistry, those somatids are working properly and they'll get their energy from oxidation. But otherwise, when oxygen becomes low in the body, they will revert back to becoming more a simple endoplasmic fetal cell. When you're in utero, inside mother, up to the first 6 months of your life, and before that when you're in utero, our cells are more operating from a fermentive system, not oxidation. But after 6 months of age, the cells switch over more to an oxidative system. And so when you create the condition, if you would have created the conditions in your body, a condition of other than having oxygen in your body, it sows the seeds for those somatids to transmutate themselves more into a life form that will produce energy from fermentation. And so the somatid starts to switch over to a fermentive system. Because oxygen is low, immune system is relatively low, they start to aggregate together. Red blood cells, because you have more red blood cells in your body than you should have, they are dying and they are becoming the material which actually creates cancer. And yes. Yes, so fasting and partial fasting, whilst you're getting some nutrition, is very important to be able to heal the body. Whilst the person's stuffing themselves in the hospital with all kinds of things, that's going to be less than helpful because that person has a condition of producing more red blood cells than they should be. And those red blood cells are dying in parts of the body and they are becoming cancerous because of where there's a lack of oxygen. Those the blood cells, which they're made out of, the somatids, they switch over to a fermenting system. Those somatids start to produce growth hormone, which they do for you in a healthy state also. But now that growth hormone is being released more because you have more organisms there, like more somatids there, and they're producing a lot more growth hormone, and so more aggregate and fusion and differentiation is occurring, and more cells are growing, would have been growing in that area, because choreogonotropic hormone, which is the growth hormone they're producing, that's what the somatids produce for us. And so that cripples the immune system from being able to go in there. So now various things that you do can heal this condition. In a healthy person, you're producing various elements, like abscisic acid. For instance, whilst you're healthy, a healthy person produces abscisic acid by breaking vitamin A down into abscisic acid. Today we know that abscisic acid is one of the most important elements that we can break down in our bodies to be able to keep growth hormone at bay. It stops growth hormone, it keeps it at bay. Abscisic acid is very important. Tyrosinase also is another element that's found with vitamin C, but when you just take vitamin C, it can rob tyrosinase from your body. And some people have said, well, if you take a lot of vitamin C, eventually it can cause a cancerous condition to be in the body. And the reason why is because if you've lost your metabolic pathways to be able to break vitamin A down into abscisic acid, and you're taking vitamin C, and the vitamin C that you're taking is a drug, because the vast majority of vitamins out here are actually drugs. You should be taking a vitamin complex, and you should learn what a vitamin complex is. A vitamin complex has all the elements with that vitamin that you ordinarily would find it with in nature. But that person in the white lab coat, they've just taken ascorbic acid, and they're giving that ascorbic acid to you, then it's going to rob all the things that ordinarily you need to be able to synthesize the vitamin C that you would find with vitamin C in nature. But when you just take ascorbic acid and give it to the person, it can eventually cause various deficiencies. Henry?
What does Linus Pauling say about this? Have you had conversations with him?
Linus Pauling doesn't know about the somatids. Doesn't know about the somatids, and is not totally quite aware yet of what a vitamin complex is and what a vitamin is and the difference of these things. I read the latest book by Linus Pauling on vitamin C, and I'm sorry to say that he does have some excellent information, but he's a lot misinformed as well.
I think he realized that if we started
he may have, but he did discover a lot of things for us, incredible, and a very amazing person, but not everything.
What about the C with the bioflavonoids? Is that completely enough?
It's a partial complete formula because it's missing vitamin K, and it's missing copper, and it's missing tyrosinase. If you're getting vitamin P, which is the bioflavonoids, that's fine because you do find vitamin C with those bioflavonoids, and that's slightly helpful, but unless you have vitamin K and copper and tyrosinase, then you're going to be robbing those elements from the body, causing shortages eventually. But now, there's only a few companies in the country who are on to this technology. The vast majority of vitamins are thoroughly drugs. And you should, as most as you can stay away from them, stay away from them. And you could get some small benefit in the beginning, but eventually it's possible for them to cause a nutritional deficiency in your body.
Which one?
Okay. There's a couple of companies that are onto this, and they are growing vitamins. They'll get a pharmaceutical grade vitamin, and they put it into a yeast culture. That yeast culture incorporates that pharmaceutical grade vitamin into its own little body, so that vitamin becomes naturally chelated with all the various elements and things that it's needed for its synthesis. So, for instance, 100 milligrams 100 milligrams of this kind of vitamin C is equivalent to 1,000 milligrams of just ascorbic acid. This is a whole food vitamin complex, and it has its bioflavonoids, and also it has very concentrated enzymes, which we started to talk about enzymes, right? It's highly concentrated enzyme, and it also has nutritional sulfur. If you burn your hair, what do you smell? Sulfur. If you burn a little skin, God help anybody who did that, but did that happen? What do you smell? Sulfur. Sulfur is the sixth major element in the body. Most people have been eating heat processed food, you'll probably really sulfur deplete incredibly. But anyway, vitamin C is very, very important. Vitamin C acts like an adaptogen. If you have high blood pressure, it will help lower it. If you have low blood pressure, it will help raise it. If you have high cholesterol, it will lower it. If you have low cholesterol, it will raise it. If you have a low or high hormone level, it will balance things out for you. Vitamin C, it acts like an adaptogen in the body. That's a very good source of vitamin C, lichen acid resources. There's a couple of other companies. There's Standard Process Laboratories from Connecticut. You have to get a doctor's prescription to get that. That's also very good. A bit more expensive, a lot more expensive. And they have a lot of controls on their vitamins to keep them fresh and everything. But you have to get a doctor's prescription for that. And there's another company, Mega Foods, also growing vitamins, and Life Enhancement Resources is the other company that's growing vitamins. You should look for a whole food vitamin complex. Should be a food-grown vitamin. That's the latest technology. That's like just eating a food. None of those vitamins are toxic. They're all water-soluble. You use what you can. You break down easily what is not needed. And that's the way it is. You take a vitamin, that's a drug. You should be taking a whole food vitamin complex. And I know that Celinda and Henry are understanding this technology, and it's possible maybe to connect with them about this. But all of you should consider taking a supplement of chromium. And it should be a food grown mineral chromium, not chromium pharmaceutical grade. that's bound to picolinate or something like that, which is okay. At least it's better than just getting chromium by itself, because now they realise that it has to be bound to something to be drawn into the body to have the proper electrical charge, which we talked a little bit about before.
That's grown in Daryl's vitamins as well, isn't it? Is that in sufficient
Yes.
quantities?
Oh yeah, sure.
I thought so.
Oh sure. In the vitamin mineral whole food vitamin mineral complex, there's quite a bit of chromium in there, plenty enough chromium for you. I think that there's 100 picograms or something.
I'd have to look. There,
100
what,
micrograms.
do those vitamins, are they equivalent the same way the vitamin C is to being,
400 micrograms. That's quite a bit.
is that equivalent like the vitamin C is, like you say, it's like 1,000, you take 200 milligrams of his and it's equivalent to 1,000 of somebody else's, only
Yes.
even better because it's whole.
1,000. It's equivalent. 100 milligrams of this, and each tablet is 300
So these work the
milligrams.
same way.
Each tablet is 300 milligrams. 100 milligrams of that is equivalent to 1,000 milligrams
Whoa.
of regular vitamin C.
Yeah.
And it's much more biologically available to the body.
But I'm saying about the vitamins that you have in your hand, not the C, but the regular vitamins, do they work the same way?
Yes.
Because of the way they're grown?
Yes, they work the same way.
So they're really potent.
Yes, they are quite potent. But you should consider supplementing your diet. And the major reason why is because the vast majority of the elements and things that you find here now, you can't quite find in the foods today, not even in organically grown produce. If you're healing your body, you should definitely consider taking in organically grown produce, because it has more potassium, it has the right potassium to sodium relationship, which we talked about. Commercially grown produce has lost its cell cleansing benefits, and it's tough to heal cell on raw foods from commercially grown produce.
On those drinks that you had mentioned before, are they compatible with each other, or should they only be taken in
Oh,
one at
they're
a time?
quite compatible with each other.
Yeah.
Everything that I recommend could never be contraindicated with anything else.
They don't
You can only,
interact at all.
everything that I'm recommending thoroughly, no matter what you're doing, is only going to help everything. You know, and you don't have to worry about ODing on any of these things.
Oh, I didn't mean it,
Yes,
but
no,
maybe stopping the work.
The action of
yeah,
one.
the action of
Right.
one because of the other.
You do them separately. You
Right.
do them separately.
Certain amount of time
Yeah.
in between.
Yes. So
These have about 36 micrograms of the chromium each
micrograms.
each tablet.
Oh yes, right. That's right.
Because what you read was
Yes.
the 12 tablets.
Yes, that's right.
Is
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we take 2-3 times a day
Yes.
as a rule, and then if we do
6.
something silly like
2
trashy food, once in a blue moon, we take a couple extra.
Yes, actually, you start to do this a little bit intuitively. Initially, you start to really bring some in, and you'll start to build up your reserves, and you'll be doing it intuitively. Your body will tell you, oh, I only feel like I can have 2 of those. You just have 2 of those, and you do it more this way, actually. Initially, you know, I find people may be doing 12 of those a day, and they may do that for 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so, something, and then most people report that they go back to a fewer than that.
You know what Daryl says, I think this is a really neat claim if it's true, and I don't have any reason to believe it wouldn't be, that if we were in a disaster situation, that a person could live, he says, don't stock up food, stock up these vitamins.
Yes,
He
yes.
says you can
I'll tell you
live
what.
comfortably
Annie and I
on 12
live
loaves
on
a day.
these vitamins. Annie and I live on these vitamins. We have less than 600 calories a day to eat, and we live on these. And I fasted more than a month total this year. I haven't eaten for more than a month this year so far, and we fast regularly, and we live on about maybe 600 calories a day. That's all. And quite some time passes by, and you're not hungry for anything at all. You don't need anything. Because we're nutritionally complete more inside. The foods that people eat often create nutritional deficiencies, as I said, because they're denatured and are missing all kinds of elements that ordinarily would be there if you ate a whole food. Do you have any MSM? Yes.
Yeah.
The MSM is like a nutritional sulfur. It's basically derivative and the element, the working element in dimethyl sulfoxide, DMSO, which you may have heard about. It's the working component of DMSO, and it's actually the component that really helps heal the body. But anyway, it's a major component of insulin. It's a major component of whenever a new cell has the ability to be able to be cemented in properly. Sulfur is very important in the process of that. Sulfur, if you take this, that parasites and things are no longer able to adhere to your intestinal walls. And one side effect of taking MSM is that your hair and your nails will grow much longer and faster. Because sulfur is a major element, in the matrix of our protein and everything. And the other thing about the MSM is it is a major help for detoxing the body. Methylsulfonymethane, which is MSM, okay. What did I just say?
Detoxing the body.
Right, good. Henry. Good. It's a major help for detoxing the body. That naturally will help chelate things out of your body. Very important. It also help act like more like a solvent in the body. I'll just share with you, we treated a woman a couple of weeks ago. She had herpes outbreak incredibly. It was spreading over her head. It was going to go into her eye. And she heard that we had to really be able to help her heal this, and we could heal this in a couple of hours. She'd been going to physicians, and finally they just said, I'm sorry, but it's possible. They gave her, this is a terminal condition. If it went into her eye, that would be it for her. And it was spreading very fast. And she came to us. I'll tell you what I did. I mixed up some enzymes. She was lacking badly in her body. And now you should only put things on the outside of your skin that you would eat. Don't put anything on your skin if you can't eat it. You should only put things on your skin that you can eat. So, I get vitamin C, I get Hyzymes, okay? Mix them up together. I get some dimethyl sulfoxide, DMSO, which is like a solvent. It's basically tree cement, that's what it is. Mix that up, right? Okay, put a little bit of lysine in there. Mix that up, make a paste of that. And now I just will keep the area wet, and within 2 hours the inflammation's gone. And no matter what's going on, it's possible to heal that condition in a matter of hours. And I can tell you it's quite possible that it won't return either once you do something like this.
Do you use vitamin C as a topical?
Yes, but you see, there's a trick to all of that a little bit, right? I mix it with dimethyl sulfoxide, okay? Dimethyl sulfoxide, we have a couple of people who understand a little bit about chemistry here.
Carrying
It's a carrying agent, good, and it acts like a solvent in the body. It draws it into the cells and things, acts like a carrying agent.
Yeah, does it matter if it's a gel or a liquid form?
You're better off actually getting a pharmaceutical grade dimethyl sulfoxide from the health food store. It should be 99.9% pure DMSO. And, it'll look a little bit like kerosene or something.
Right.
Smells a bit like kind of garlic. It doesn't kind of feel like mineral oil. Or
We use that with the horses also,
Yes,
but I didn't
yes.
know if that was a good grade or if it's a separate.
That's a less than excellent grade.
Okay,
I intend to
and
carry
actually,
that
it's
to
bad
the-
news even to put that on the horses because
right.
it's got solvents and things in there.
Well, it draws everything, if you
Yeah,
don't
it
use
draws
it properly,
everything
it
in.
draws everything in.
Yes, and you have to be careful when you're working with that. With your
Right.
hands and
Very
stuff.
hard to get a horse clean.
But yes, that too. See, but anyway, you can
Okay.
get a pure grade. You have to get that from a health food store. And they'll sell it to you. That's for putting it on topically. But it's possible also to take that internally as well. But anyway, these are probably the most potent enzymes on the market as far as the units working units are concerned in each of these. Now, that's unheard of. Like, it was possible for us to heal an abscess in about 3 days. Right? By taking massive doses of enzymes and a therapeutic dose, taking up to 100 of these a day. If you take 100 of these a day, you're getting 10 times a day, 10 every time you take it, but and you take a few pills of blue-green algae with, and it's probably not very bad kind of spirulinas also. This tastes pretty good too. Most spirulinas, they're all blue-green algae, but spirulina is the blue-green algae that's grown in a man-made dam. A lot of the spirulinas, which is the cheaper way to get blue-green algae, are a little acidic tasting. But this is grown in Hawaii under really excellent conditions, and this is probably one of the better spirulinas that I've tasted. But don't worry if it doesn't taste so good to you. Don't worry if it doesn't taste so good to you. Just imagine, my God, this stuff is really incredible. You need this, what you need. So I'll take just a few, or have the person take a few of these with the enzymes. The enzymes go to work to break these down into single amino acids, which you so sorely need. There's only 2 kinds of sugar in your body. There's 9 different kinds of fat, but there's over 20,000 different types of protein.
We take 30 of those a day.
Yes, you take 30 days, that's pretty good. You know, Annie and I might take about 12 at the most, something like that, you know. We're doing other green kinds of things too, but you could take 30 of these a day. You could take up to like a tablespoon full of them, tablespoon and a half full of them. That would be the maximum amount of protein you could possibly use. That's so much protein, it's incredible. Most people are eating too much protein. And when you're growing, mother's milk is what we need to grow. And that's when you really do need good nutrition when you're growing. And mother's milk only has about 5% protein. That's all. And the closest food that comes close to mother's milk is what, do you think? Have a guess. What food is closest to mother's milk? Peach.
I was going to say papaya.
Yes. Peach. A peach has exactly the same amount of calcium in it. There's exactly the same amount of sugar in it as mother's milk. It has exactly the same amount of protein as mother's milk. Mother's milk is a lot like a peach. Yes. There's an intuitive understanding of if I asked you, I know we've got to kind of get closer, but if I asked you right now, if you were a food, right, what would that be?
A peach.
Good. Yes?
I've been craving pieces all year.
I won't go any further, but my God, we're an enlightened group here. Nobody said mayonnaise.
30 words.
Or a cow, or... Nobody wants to be a pork, right?
Oh, 6 months ago I would have said a brownie.
Would you? You would want to be the brownie?
Yeah.
I'll be the peach any day.
David, how long does it take for chocolate to get out of the system?
Chocolate has a lot of arginine in it. When you eat chocolate, it's possible that can have created herpes outbreaks, and also carob can have done that too in the past. Because carob and chocolate have arginine in it, which is an anabolic amino acid, meaning it builds up and it helps create growth of things. And it creates a lysine imbalance, which is a catabolic amino acid, which breaks and tears things down. The vast majority of amino acids, which is the simplest building blocks of protein, are anabolic and they build the body up. But if you're needing to break the body, parts of the body down, you need catabolic amino acids like cysteine, like lysine, and there's a few others that are important.
What about the recent comments that came out that chocolate is supposed to be?
No, that's total bullshit. Because
commercial.
I know, they might say sugar does that, or bread does that
No, I
too.
don't.
But I'll tell you what, there is a study that shows that Wonder Bread is good for you.
I know, I'm learning.
Yes, and there's marketing Wonder Bread, and it was put out by the people who make Wonder Bread.
But I recently just got, and I'm not a food either, I don't speak easily food and things like that, an organic dark chocolate. And about every couple of days, if I get like just a square of it or something, I can notice differences in my balance, hormonal balance.
Oh yes, it's quite possible that there's a couple of things in there that your body is trying to use, and it can use those things even though it leaves toxic residues behind. But I would say that the things possibly that the body is in need of in those moments are possibly something that relates to blood sugar a little bit, something that relates to you having taking in your body some anabolic amino acids that you could get from figs, or you could get from some pumpkin seed.
That you create foods.
Okay, but they have to be so thoroughly chewed, those things, right? And it's the seeds every time you hear a little crunch. Right, they have to be chewed 100 times, each mouthful of figs. And most food you should drink. If anything you chew, you should drink it. And anything you drink, you should chew. Okay? And you really should chew your food about 100 times because if you just swallow these vitamins, you're not going to get much benefit from them. If you chew them, or you grind them up in your coffee grinder, they're a bit too tough to chew. Grind them up in your coffee grinder and actually put them through your mouth. And that's very important. I'll tell you why. Is because we only have 3 layers of cells underneath our tongue, and the vast majority of these vitamins are absorbed into your head sublingually. If you're just like whacking things back without chewing it means your head's missing the vitamins that you would get if you chewed it a bit longer. The new compounds are formed also in the mouth. So that's very, very important.
And you talk about capsules too? You chew the capsule?
Yeah, well, I have done that, Henry. But I like as much as possible to get the powder, because I don't like capsules, because that's dead to me, right? But that's convenient for some people, okay? It's better than not having the enzymes, but I often will even chew those capsules,
You can also break it down.
Yeah, I break the capsules and put them into my food too and stuff like that. If you're doing heat processed food, which you should start to get more modest with, as time goes by, don't get rid of anything. Just bring something else in that you really love, and everything else will fall by the wayside. Okay? That's the best way to do this. Not to be thinking, oh God, I can't have that. But find out what you can have. And bring things into your diet that you're really loving, But anyway, we had 2 beakers here of oatmeal, and one didn't have any enzymes in it, and we put enzymes in the other. Within 20 seconds, the beaker that we put the enzymes in, it'll be completely water, liquid. It'll be completely turned liquid. The other one could sit there for weeks and weeks and weeks and be as solid as the day it ever was there. Without enzymes, no work is done in the body. Enzymes do all the work in the body. Your immune cells, you can imagine, like I'm going to blow up a big, huge immune cell here, right? Let's just say that's a lymphocyte cell. Tiny little receptor sites all the way around that membrane are full of enzymes. If you don't have any enzymes in your body, it means you don't have an immune system. You need enzymes to have a good immune system. It's possible thoroughly to heal an abscess anywhere in the body in 3 days by taking massive doses of enzymes, up to 100 a day, by taking some blue-green algae with that. When you do it, it's possible to heal any kind of abscess in the body.
How does this program work with the
I wish we had time to talk a little bit about AIDS. The virus is not the cause of AIDS. The cause of AIDS, the major cause of AIDS is all the drugs that are given to treat various conditions that completely wipe the person's immune system out. But the virus by itself doesn't really do anything.
Oh, you were talking about the enzymes helping the immune system?
Yes, very important. Living in New York City, I deal with quite a few people who come who want to get better health, And whilst I won't say, yes, I'm treating AIDS or yes, I'm treating cancer, I'm not. I'm helping this person heal their body. And I'm educating them as to what they can do to help heal themselves. And that's the truth. Nobody comes along and just gives somebody from a cabinet something that's going to act like a magic bullet. And thinking like there's one cause of this condition and that there's one one kind of chemical or something I can give the person who's going to treat that condition is very erroneous thinking, and only arrived as a result of insurance companies making a cookbook approach so the doctors can get reimbursement. That's all. So Linda.
I'm kind of confused about something with the AIDS because I'm familiar with what you just said, very. And what I'm confused about is that I did the first positive HIV blood test in San Mateo County and on a patient, and we didn't have the foggiest idea what was wrong with him.
Sure. Did you do an ELISA test? What kind of test did you
I
do?
don't even remember. I just know it cost $500 to get the test done,
Oh,
and we had to get all kinds of special permissions to do it. It's county hospital. And I know they just considered him hugely immune depressed.
Yes.
He was not on any drugs other than he was in a drug program. He'd been on cocaine and who knows what else. And it was a gay guy, and he,
Poppers something that's extremely immunosuppressive, incredibly. But anyway, Poppers also has benzene and other things in it. That benzene travels to the thymus gland in 20 seconds. Your B cells migrate to the thymus gland here, where it matures them into T and NK lymphocyte cells. But if you've got benzene in your thymus gland, it means you don't have an immune system because your lymphocyte cells can't travel to the thymus gland to mature into T and NK lymphocyte cells. And so the one thing that we do is we clear all the benzene out of the person's body, and we get them onto a parasitical cleanse with 5 different herbs, which can get rid of more than 100 parasites, which nothing Western medicine can touch. Nothing Western medicine has can get rid of that many kind of parasites and be perfectly inert, perfectly actually helping the body and not leaving any toxic residue in the body. They don't know how to do that, but there's a combination of herbs that you can take that will get rid of that. Basically, the AIDS testing is all unscientific. A lot of people test false negative and false positives. And these tests that they use are not testing for the virus at all. They're testing for protein complexes like P21, P41, and other various protein strands, that's all. And all kinds of things that complicate that, and they are not standardized. There's no gold standard at all with those tests. And anyway, that's all based on the assumption that the virus itself is what causes AIDS, and it's not. The retroactive viruses typically don't do anything. They live in harmony with the cell. They have to. And anyway, when you look and find a person who dies of AIDS, more than 50% of the people who die of AIDS don't have the virus in their body. Many conditions today, AIDS is actually a complex of symptoms, and they've classified quite a few symptoms underneath the umbrella of AIDS, just like they did with polio some time ago. And so, the more AIDS is being diagnosed because more and more actual people are, all kinds of symptoms are being lumped underneath the AIDS umbrella today. You don't hear people dying of syphilis.
So
But 100% of the people who die of AIDS have syphilis. You don't hear people dying of human herpes 6 virus, but 100% of the people die classified as AIDS have the human herpes 6 virus. You don't hear of that, but you hear this classification of AIDS. Robert Gallo is totally, personally, I think it's immoral what he's done, and it is totally wrong.
I just read an article, and it was the doctor is very adamant about that HIV does not cause AIDS. And he says there's over 1 million people running around that have HIV but they don't have AIDS.
Sure, no. That's the fact of the matter, because they are just following Pasteur's theory, thinking that the microbe caused the condition. But what I just told you was that the microbe doesn't cause the condition at all. Your body's terrain, the chemistry of your body, creates these conditions to arise from within out. But anyway, the closest virus to the HIV virus is the sickle cell anemia virus in sheep, and the bovine leukemia virus in cattle. And it's hypothesized that it's a recombinant virus, this retroactive virus. It's a recombinant virus of those two other kinds of viruses that have come together as a result of foods people have eaten and also from plasmas that were injected into people for gamma globulin for hepatitis vaccines that they gave in New York, San Francisco, and Chicago. The first people that actually came down with AIDS were all people who were in that program. The only way you could get into that program, you had to be male, you had to be between the ages of 19 and 32, you had to be very young, you had to be in good health, and then it's possible that you could go and have a vaccine and that would apparently guarantee you, and this was an experimental program, but it was apparently going to guarantee you that you would, you wouldn't come down with hepatitis, but the vast majority of those people did come down with hepatitis eventually, and many of them also died of AIDS and are dead today. And it's hypothesized that the HIV virus got into the blood of a lot of these people through that vaccination initially. And through the gamma globulin that was grown with animal materials and things they grew that gamma globulin. And then the World Health Organization also got hold of some of that, and they put that into smallpox vaccinations that went into Africa. And it's very interesting that the only people who really have that are the people who have had massive vaccinations. The countries that have done massive vaccinations. The countries who have not done any vaccinations don't have it at all.
Is that what Anna Kroger, she talks about?
Good.
The vaccinations, and that it was also mixed, or I'm not sure how it was done, but with simian 8.
Oh, simian 40 virus they thought was the closest virus to HIV, but that's not true. That was
She
just a
also
theory
talks
that Gallo
about
tried to
the
kind
stuff.
of foist on everybody to say, well, maybe this came from Africa or something, but that's bulldoze. That's the biggest load of bulldoze I've ever heard. No, simian 40 virus is totally...
But is she right on the other part?
That's what?
That AIDS is spread through that vaccination.
Part of the HIV virus has been spread through vaccination, and other is spread through the food chain for people eating fresh foods, because those cell wall deficient bacteria are not killed with that heat. You can heat sand up to 3,000 degrees, and bacteria eventually will come out of that sand. And that was the greatest criticism that Bouchamp and other people also leveled against Pasteur. They said that he didn't do his experiments long enough, and they showed in plenty of experiments to show that pasteurized urine, pasteurized so many times, and really sterilized like crazy, could be put in a flask, and under the right conditions, eventually it becomes turbid again. Bacteria will spontaneously rise out of that. Because the somatids are not destroyed, and the somatids eventually, as long as the terrain becomes right again, those somatids can aggregate together and fuse together and differentiate and make up various microbes. Now, all of us have within us you're supposed to have intestinal flora, which helps you break down your food. The vast majority of people have more than 80% unfriendly and only 20% friendly. It's causing all kinds of conditions. Just recently, they were able to culture a microbe called Salivarius. Salivarius is a very hardy organism. It's both aerobic and anaerobic. And they culture Salivarius from colostrum. You know what colostrum is? Colostrum is the food that comes from the breast the first few days of life. So they're cultured from colostrum. Okay, that bacteria, Salivarius, lays a good work down through your digestive tract, which helps lay the seeds and things for all the rest of the bacteria and things to lay on. And this helps give you the proper healthy intestinal flora that you have then for the rest of your life. But because of all kinds of conditions, drinking coffee, eating heat processed food, having a lot of acid residues in the body, and all manner of other things. Little by little, it's possible for the salivarius to have totally transmutated and gone on to other things. If you just take one of these capsules, every 20 minutes that passes by, that capsule will double its weight inside you. That's the beauty of this. There's only two kinds of acidophilus, this is an acid-loving acidophilus bacteria. There's only a couple kinds of acidophilus, and when they did studies on this, that actually will implant in your intestines. The vast majority of the acidophilus don't that you buy in the shop. They can help you digest your food, and whilst they're living within you, they can help give you some benefit, but they don't implant. But this does. This will implant in the colon. Not only that, but it will crowd out candida. It will crowd out all other manner of, and actually, something Western medicine has nothing to help heal food poisoning. You go into a hospital with food poisoning, they don't have anything to help you, right? But you can take this, and I guarantee that in 2 hours it will heal the worst food poisoning ever. In 2 hours, right?
What is the name of that?
Because the microorganisms, salivarius, the microorganisms within this will help totally fight and crowd out the unfriendly bacteria. This produces all our B vitamins, vast majority of amino acids and everything that you do get, you are getting mostly from the little life forces that pass their life force on to you when they die. Because most people, when they eat, are not eating any live food. So where are you getting your amino acids from? And your B vitamins and all that sort of thing? Mostly you're getting it from the intestinal flora where it passes its life on to you. So salivarius is really very good. And for the people who have a lot of intestinal kind of stuff inside your intestines and things, oxymag is very important. Magnesium works with oxygen. Magnesium is involved in 300 different metabolic pathways for metabolizing toxins in the body. Without magnesium, it's tough. The detox program doesn't quite occur well enough for you. And magnesium is bound with oxygen to help oxygenate the cells and things. And so basically this oxymag really helps blast and helps give you a lot of oxygen into your intestines to change the cultures that live there to be more oxidative rather than anaerobic, which means without oxygen. Anaerobic kinds of bacteria are the ones, that eventually lead to dis-ease, a disruption to the ease that you're ordinarily feeling in your body. Oxymag can really help blast these out, help oxygenate your body, help clean the colon, and things like this. Well, I know there's going to be much more, and I guess we could really go over, and I know people will I think maybe we should tell them. Some people still want to wait.
I have a last question. Because there's some sort of inconsistency that I want to straighten out. You're talking about Pasteur,
Yes.
and that you could heat sand,
Yes.
and still something.
Sure. Bacteria.
If
He
we,
never did that experiment, though. He never did that.
right, okay. So
He only did his experiments for 3 days.
if you're eating dead food,
Yes.
why does it the same thing happen?
Oh, it does. It does.
If stuff can grow out
Yes, it does.
of
It will.
real heated sand.
Yes, it will.
Okay, well, what
It
about
does.
dead food?
It does, and it will. The major thing is that the food is denatured when it's heat processed, and our bodies are unable to break it down into single amino acids. And it travels through our digestive tract, for the most part, not broken down. And then even if it is broken down, it's completely denatured by the heat, and so our body's not quite able to use it in the same way. Of course, you can use it to fuel the metabolic pathways and things, and that your metabolic pathways can produce various things for you because you have an energy, right? But it doesn't burn efficiently. It leaves toxic residues behind. All cooked food leaves acid residues behind. I showed you that diagram of the electrons. it spins electrons off, it becomes acidic, it becomes positively charged, you lose acid residue in the body. Acid in the tissues is a major cause of all kinds of ailments and things. The moment your pH, which is parts per hydrogen, changes in your body, that sets the seeds for all kinds of conditions. The moment you can get your pH back into the right shape and everything else falls back into alignment. There's a threshold, which is pH, is very important for neural firing threshold to work properly. Without the proper pH there being in your blood and tissues, the firing threshold doesn't occur as well. So there's all kind of cognitive conditions and things that can happen as well.
So those microbes in the sand aren't denatured?
Oh, sure they are. For somebody to try to get life from that, it would be
still
tough
do.
for them to do that. It would be tough for them to do that. It's possible that worms might be able to get something out of that, and other things too that eat dirt, you know. But for the most part, once it's missing its light, once it's missing its oxygen, which happens in the heat process of food, once it's missing its enzymes, your body has to produce the enzymes itself. Those enzymes get robbed from your leukocytes, which are your immune cells. Your pancreas is filtering the leukocytes and drawing the enzymes that it needs to furnish to break the food down. It robs enzymes from the metabolic pathways of your body, and it can cause all kinds of immune conditions and also aging. Essential fatty acids, very, very important. You should learn how to do a gallbladder flush. Ask Celinda or Henry how to go about doing gallbladder flush. You should consider doing a gallbladder flush. If weight gain is tough for you, if putting on weight is tough for you, if sometimes you eat and your tummy doesn't empty properly, if you have flatulence, if food doesn't pass through you quick enough, in other words, you have a sluggish digestive system, probably you will benefit incredibly by doing a gallbladder flush. More than likely you may have up to 150, 200 stones in your gallbladder duct and your gallbladder, blocking the gall from actually being released. And most people just carry those stones with them to their grave, never really knowing quite that they had them, but just that their digestion was really, really poor. But you can have the digestion again that you had whilst you were young if you do this gallbladder flush. And you're never too young or too old actually to do this, the gallbladder flush.
You mentioned having near-death experience. Wasn't this information given to you during that experience?
And nutrition-wise, most things that happened to me then was a lot about understanding death, and also a leveling experience which made me equal to every person on the earth here. Whereas before I didn't feel it. Or an older person, I thought, oh, this person knows more than me, maybe. This person has a physician or something. But when I died, I realized my life already had passed. And so I better get on with it. And the thing that really happened to me was the most amazing purpose that came into my life. Like I really wanted to do something. Where I had considered I had done something, but like seemingly was like sitting in my dark actually. I've travelled ever since. I've been studying ever since. And I think the major thing that it does is it creates the most amazing, incredible sense of purpose. And I looked around me and I had a value for life like I never had before. And since then, in a shamanic way, I've experienced death quite a few times, where my body completely was not functioning, not hardly breathing, not hardly functioning, but my mind was active. And to understand this, what death is and what this bardo state is like, in between life and death. And yes. I think it's possible to understand some things about death. It's possible to understand these things about life. And then the other thing also that happened to me was I was not afraid then of my death. And where before I was going around trying to save myself, somebody who's trying to save themselves, they're going to lose themselves. They already have lost themselves. And somebody, somebody who's lost himself can find himself. The more we have the ability to be able to leave ourselves behind, the more it's possible really to be able to do something in life. The more I have the ability to let myself go, the more Great Spirit, God comes in the little body. And the more we have the ability completely to speak to each other thoroughly, like I really care about you, like you're my sister. And that I will not hold this information back from you because I could be persecuted or anything like that. But completely just doing that compromise, so to speak, from the heart. And telling people the truth about themselves. And if people won't tell you things about yourself, I will tell you this. But I'll share it with you in a way that it's like a mirror-like wisdom that will reflect where you're going in the future rather than where you've been. Like when somebody would have come to you before and they would say, oh, you look much better today. I should look, Right? That's not mirror-like wisdom. Mirror-like wisdom is more having the ability to be able to reflect, have a reflection of where you are now and then where you're going. But most people in counselling and therapy, they are kind of often kind of reflecting where the person is and being rather than where you are and going. We need to kind of grasp hold of the present and allow this to be leading us more into the future. And we should really be considering that faculty to inspire creative influence of the future in how we're living. And the one question that I would ask you, that I ask of myself every day, in many moments during the day, that you might hear this voice inside you asking you this: what are you doing to add another day to your life? And how have you been today with your feelings of what you did today to add another day to your life? Because someone could come out and they could have been told that their child was run over by a truck, and just that being told that can change that person's immune system incredibly, right in that instant. People who say thought cannot affect your physiology, that's bullshit. Thought can absolutely affect your immune system and everything incredibly. So, what is it that you're doing in this moment now? How relaxed is your tongue? And how relaxed is your face? And how relaxed are your hands? The more relaxed that we are, and the more we tune more into our kinesthetic self, the more we have great mastery, and the more you have the ability to transform anything outside the world. Well, anyway, I love you. I really appreciate that you came out of your way to come and be with us here today, not knowing kind of anything about much about what's really was going to happen. And I thank you for sitting still for as long as you sat still to hear all of this. So I challenge each of you, become a living prophet for what it is that you understand inside. And I swear we're such a small family and that we're really in need of you getting out there and speaking to the people you're feeling like you have rapport with. So, thank you.
Thank you.